DBSCG things.
What's up, Yuhp gang? It's your boy Tyson, and welcome back to Yuhp DBSCG Things. And today we're going over another very exciting deck profile, guys. This is going to be a deck that went 2-1 at our last local. This is going to be Red Shenron. But before we get into it, guys, I do want to say if you guys want any custom mats and or sleeves, absolutely check out Promats, guys. This is the best place to go get your custom card needs. Links in the description below for you guys to go check it out. And also, before we dive in, guys, I do want to say that I'm trying to grow my Discord community as much as possible. So if you guys are in a search-free community where you can come check out the card reviews every single day, ask for an untap and or webcam battle, or generally just ask some card questions, this is the place for you. So I will leave a link below for you guys to go check it out. And with that being said, guys, if you guys enjoyed this deck or my content in general, remember to hit all those buttons for me, like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And with that being said, let's turn it around and dive in. And one more thing to add, guys, I am trying to give out a bunch of TPs and judge packs and random revision packs and things like that that I've collected over time. So I will be doing this every single week. I'll give out 3 to 5 of these packs on my live streams, on my Tuesday live streams, Tuesday testings, of course. So make sure if you guys want a chance to win any of these TPs, you do stop by for next week and any week after that for a chance to win some of these TPs. And for a brief second, I will leave a picture up of what the prizes are so that you are a little bit more swayed into stopping by. With that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Alrighty, you guys, and here we are with the Shenron second place deck profile from today at Locals. Go ahead and tell us about your deck today and your matchups.
So the deck on the front side is a lot like a Wish deck. You turn it sideways, you search either your life or your deck for some Dragon Balls, and you can add up to 2. It is and/or, so you can grab from like 1 from life and then 1 from deck, which is very, very important because there's like 1 in life and then 1 in deck you need to grab. You can do that. Some old Wish decks, I do believe, didn't do that, so that can be a bit of a hassle. And then Awaken, once you have 6 energy, or 6Z energy, excuse me. The cool thing about him is it does not have to be the 6 Dragon Balls here. It can be any Z energy that you want, so if you are at your turn 2 and you want to try to Awaken or turn 3 or whatever, and you don't quite have your Dragon Balls yet, which you should have them by turn 3 regardless, because you do search 2 per turn. You can charge other cards to kind of help you see Awaken a little bit, which is really, really cool. Awaken condition is he restands himself and then 1 energy. He does not draw. That's kind of important. Front side is pretty basic, but overall actually kind of nutty. Auto any attacks, draw 1 card, pretty basic. Once per turn, activate main. You can choose one of your battle cards and then another card on the field or unisons and -1 by 15. Key thing to remember too, you do not have to choose one of yours and one of your opponents. You can choose 2 of yours if you really want to. As long as one of your cards is selected, you can also choose another one of your cards as well, which I will explain later why that's important. So, leader is pretty basic. So naturally, 6 Dragon Balls, that's enough. You search them, there's no way you can miss them. You Awaken with 6 of them, so pretty consistently I've been able to do it at turn 2 with all 6 Dragon Balls, so it works out really, really well, so I'll probably keep it there, Dragon Ball wise. And then the Z leader we'll just get into right off the bat. He Awakens at 3 or less for 7 Z energy. So at some point or another, you are going to have to charge 1 more Z energy on top of your 6 Dragon Balls. That is something to keep in mind. Although obviously not very hard to do, but you know, I forgot a couple times myself, so it's just something to keep in mind. Gains, he becomes a 20k base, gains double strike. Auto when he draws a card, very basic leader skill. And then his activate main is probably my favorite thing about this card. You can send 6 Dragon Balls from your drop area to play a Red Shadow Dragon from your hand, which 9 times out of 10 you're going to play the 8 drop. So, I mean, I'll explain what the 8 drop does at some point or later, and I'll explain why that's pretty crazy. Going into the deck, I just chose a basic mono red build. Nothing too crazy. 4 of the Natron. Most of these basic 2 drops have the same skill. They're permanent. If your leader card is a red Shenron, then they all get reduced by energy cost of 1 from your hand. So they're all effectively 1 drops, which is really important. This one's just a basic searcher. You play it, you search top 5 for a red dragon, red shadow dragon, energy cost 4 or less, or a specified unison cost of 2. So, you know, it's typically your turn play, or your turn 1 play, excuse me. You know, Dragon Ball, search more Dragon Balls, and then turn 1 play if you can't Awaken, which you usually can't. So, pretty basic card. Keep it at a 4 of just so you can search for your pieces. Next card, very, very important staple to have. Same permanent. It is his energy cost is reduced in your hand by 1, so he becomes a 1-drop as long as your leader is a red Shadow Dragon. His skill is pretty cool. Activate battle. You can either send him from field to drop or hand to drop and give one of your Shadow Dragons critical, which is massive. Sometimes that early game critical is literally your deciding factor in the game. I have won a couple games just because I saw this early. I got 2 or 3 crit hits in, and it's kind of nasty. His other skill, if you play him, his ability, he will lets you draw a card, and then you can place a Dragon Ball from your deck to your C energy, so he kind of helps you get you through your deck a little bit faster. So I don't use that part of the skill very often, if nothing else. His ability to search for a Dragon Ball is up to, so you don't have to use that. So a lot of times if I'm already awakened, I will just play him just to get a draw. It just helps cycle through my deck a little bit. But more often than not, I'm using him for that critical skill, which is massive for what it does. So continuing with basic package, this one permanent, same thing, energy cost is reduced by 1. Her skill is pretty cool. She also has a skill where you play her from hand, you draw a card, you could put a Dragon Ball from your deck to your Z energy. So again, just more ways to shuffle through your deck. Another neat skill about her, activate main, you can send her from your field or your hand to your drop area if you have 3 more energy to give one of your red Shadow Dragons barrier. So if you have a Shadow Dragon on board you want to try and protect, like the 8-drop for example, she can give it barrier, which is kind of huge, especially in your green matchups. I imagine black's going to be difficult once I run into that as well. But pretty important card. Definitely recommend keeping this and the haze at 4, just because even if you don't use the activate main in battle, there's still cards that help you search through your deck and just run through it faster. And continuing with the package, I run 3 of the eyes and then 3 of the Nova. So these cards are really cool. They go in tangent with your deck's minusing skill. So as I said earlier, your leader will minus up to 2 of your cards or 1 of your cards or 1 of your opponent's cards by 15. Both of these cards have the same skill, once per turn, limit 1. If they are sent to your drop area by 1 of your skills, they will resurrect. The eyes will resurrect with critical, and then the Nova will resurrect with nothing. He'll just draw you a card. So pretty cool. Usually play them, swing once, use the leader skill, minus them, they'll come back, you swing with them again. So Nova helps you add value. He effectively replaces himself because he draws you a card, and then the eyes is just critical, which is massive. And then if your opponent doesn't manage to get rid of these, the amount of value you're collecting over time is kind of nutty. Not gonna lie, it almost feels bad sometimes, which is how much value you're able to collect, especially with the Novas. So I keep them at 3 for the time being, only because I can usually either search them out pretty easily, or I find at least 1 or 2 because their skills are limit 1. So once you get 1 of them out, you can't really spam them. So I feel like 3 is a good split for each of them. I usually don't have problems seeing at least 1 per game. So usually your early to mid game combos, you know, going after leader skill and whatnot. So 4-drop, I am running a 4 of. This card is really good. It goes in tangent with the rest of your deck. Auto, you can play him for 1 energy, and then when he plays, he draws a card, which is really cool because he replaces himself. He's a double strike, and then his auto, when he attacks, you can choose one of your battle cards, one of your Shadow Dragons specifically, KO it, and then you can neg one of your opponent's battle cards or unisons by 20, which is pretty huge. And then, so you normally, these are usually your targets, the eyes and the Nova usually, so they resurrect, so you can literally just start cycling. So this card is huge, especially in tangent with the haze, because this has no energy restriction. I forgot to mention, the Nova and the eyes, you can't start using their skills until your opponent has 2 or more energy. However, this card does not have an energy restriction, so you can start swinging by your turn 1 if you go second, and you can literally do double strike crit right off the bat, which is insane. Again, I've won a couple games just because I was able to get that crit right off the rip, which is kind of disgusting. So, and again, if your opponent can't get rid of him, he's just value because he's helping you cycle your cards. So it's pretty nasty. And of course, we got the King, 8-drop. Got the Sol SPR'd out. Very excited about that. This card is your boss monster, effectively. He is Deflect, Triple Strike. Excuse me. If he were to, effectively once per turn, his permanent, if he were to get minus by any card skills, he would gain +5 instead. You know, and then of course the permanent states that if this happens, it gets negated, so it's effectively a once per turn. You play him by paying 2 energy, as long as you have 6 or more Z energy. I don't know if I mentioned that, but all of these cards, in order to play them, you have to have 6 or more Z energy. But again, you're awakening, you're getting your Z energy usually by turn 2, so by turn 2, you're going off already. So getting to that, meeting that requirement is not difficult. Also, too, to keep in mind, you don't need to have 6 Z energy as long as you're Z awakened. So you can play all these cards if you Z awaken or have the 6 Z energy. So very, very important distinction. So if you were to go for your Z Awaken, you can still play all these cards and not have to worry about, you know, losing your entire engine, which is good. Glad Bandai did that. Anyway, so when this card, when you are Z Awakened, he gains, he has 2 skills effectively. So his first skill is Activate Battle once per turn. You can neg a battle card or a unison by 3k for each Z energy you have. If you're not awakened, you're usually around 6 or 7. 6 guaranteed in order to play the card. Usually at 7, like I said, because you want to make sure you charge 1 card at the very least to make sure you're able to Z awaken when you're ready for it. So that's important to know. And then if you are Z awakened, you are able to neg another battle card or unison by 30k. So you have 2 potential neg targets. And also keep in mind, it's very similar to the leader. You don't have to choose your opponent's cards if you don't want to. If you want to choose your own to start cycling your cards, you can, which is kind of huge. So just something to keep in mind. But yeah, this and the Haze is probably one of my favorite combos. You swing with the Triple Strike, and then you combo, or you activate battle with the Haze. That's 30k Triple Strike coming at your opponent's face. It's mean. I love it a lot. Continuing with the red package, I run 3 of the Yamcha. Decent card. If you're running Unisons, it's a card you're going to run. Not much else to say here. This card's been out forever. The Unison I run for this card. I know it's not the Unison that was designed for the deck, but in my personal opinion, it's a lot better for the deck because this card lets you play all of your small Shadow Dragons from your hand because all of their energy costs are reduced by 1 in your hand. So your Natron, your Haze, and your Oceanus all become 1-drops in your hand, so this card can actually play them. So that is kind of huge. So you literally play this card out, you get your top 3 search, and then activate his +2 skill. +2 is also a huge thing for him. He gathers markers really, really quickly, so that's huge. You can play a 1-drop from your hand, so you can play one of those 3 targets and get their skills, which is pretty huge. And then activate Battle, which is really, really cool. -4, he gives himself 15k and double strike, so he is another basic finisher or just an insane amount of pressure if you really need it. So personal opinion, he's way better for this deck than that one was designed for this deck, in my, just because he can do a little bit more in the grand scheme of things. He can search any card in your deck because his top 3 is any red card, so as long as you're running mono red, you can't miss. So, personal opinion, he's just better. To kind of going along with the Unison package and along with the theme, 2 Wolf Fang Fist. Once you get this Unison out, all of these cards are free, which is nice. And since he's a +2, it makes him kind of hard to get rid of. So once he's out, your opponent can't really get rid of him very, very easily. So these cards are alive pretty much your entire game. So that's kind of huge. And of course, the deck is all about minusing your opponent's battle cards. So this just keeps up with the theme. So good card, good Unison, good cards all the way around. Red package, red deck. Not much else to say there. So for super combos, I'm still kind of experimenting, but as of right now, I am going with a 2-2 split of the Reddit super combo and then of the Beer super combo. The main reason for the Beer super combo is because there's not really much of a guarantee that I'll get down to 4 life in this deck. I don't do a whole lot of self-awakening myself because this leader does not, I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, this leader does not rip life when he awakens. So awakening at 8 life is 100% a possibility. Hasn't happened to me yet, but it is something I have to keep in mind. So getting to the 4 or less life isn't always possible. There's a card in my Z deck. I'll explain why there's a Saiyan Super combo in here, but I like this just a little bit better. The skill is basically combo with it. You reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a red card, he gains +5 combo power. And there's a yellow card. Actually, let me remember what the yellow does. I think it minuses. Yeah, minuses another battle card by 5k. You're mono red, so you're never going to miss the red skill. So he's a pseudo super combo at all times because he'll automatically gain the 5k no matter what. And if you happen to catch the second one, which is a very, very rare instance, you'll just get both skills. So really, really good. And then red super combo, not much to say. It's a generic red deck, so it's just a good card. So probably keep it that way for the time being. More red, generic staples, Valiant Rays. Not much to say here. You're red, you're running this card. There's a few decks in this meta that I feel like are going to be good or be out there for this card. Bardock Crew I think is going to be a bit rough. Obviously this does nothing against Gogeta, but I mean if I do a mirror match is actually going to help me with this card decently enough. It'll at least stop the A drop and the 4 drop, so that's something to keep in mind. But 2 has always been my number for this card, no matter what the deck outside of the Dark Broly meta, so I mean, not much to say there, pretty good. Keep going with red staples, testing the opposition, not much to say here. Good red staple, good card to have. If you do go down to 5 or less life, which is a possibility, it does help you self-awaken a little bit, so you can get to your red super combo a little bit easier, so it's a decent card. Plus, you know, you don't have to pay the life of the card itself, you know, you can pay 2 for it if it really comes down to it. So again, just more good red goodies. And normally I save this card for last, but we still have a Yuhp Awaken card to go through. This is my personal choice for this deck. I've always kind of liked this secret rare. I feel like in the grand scheme of things, you get a little bit more value out of it. I know a lot of people argue that the Vegeta secret rare is a little bit better, and I am inclined to agree. However, I do not own the Vegeta secret rare, so this is my best bet. I personally, just the way this deck wants to handle itself with all the negging that it does, I feel like it's a little bit better for it in the grand scheme of things anyway, because it's not like the Vegeta SCR where you play it once and you get rid of it and it's gone. This one, once you play it, it's very, very hard to get rid of, and you're getting value from it almost every single turn. So, in case anyone doesn't know, when you play it, you minus your opponent's board by 25k, ignoring barrier, which is huge, so it's a board wipe. And then once per turn, when your opponent attacks with a battle card, it'll automatically neg it by 25k. That's its +1, so the +1 will be happening on your opponent's turn. And then the negative or the -4 skill, activate main, it will get itself +15k, and then triple strike. So it's, you know, a finisher. And then it inherently has dual attack, and it's a blocker. And then at the end of the turn, it'll restand itself if you use the -4. So you'll get your 2 triple strike swings, 40k, and then at the end of the turn, it'll restand, and now you have a blocker ready. So I mean, like you get a ton of value out of it for what it is. I think this is the second best red SCR in the game currently, personal opinion. So Z deck. What's on my Z deck? Z deck is pretty basic red. I already talked about the Z Awaken leader. 3 of this Vegeta, just because he is just good red card deck. He has deflect when he attacks, not once per turn, mind you. He will combo with a card from your drop area with 5k, negating its skill, so it charges you Z energy. And then once per turn, you can switch him back to active mode if you have 4 or more Z energy. He'll give himself 10,000 power, double strike, and barrier, which is really, really nice. So he's effectively a dual attack that on the second attack will gain 10k and double strike. So I mean, it's just good aggro deck. So I haven't used him a whole lot recently just because my deck does enough aggro as it is, but at the end of the day, you know, your Z deck doesn't take up any space in your deck, so you have no reason not to run it. There have been a couple games where I played this card where it got me the game, so having deflect is kind of huge, and it makes it so that way your opponent can't deal with it, certain colors anyway.
And it gains barrier, which is nice.
Yeah, it does gain the barrier, so it can protect itself against, you know, some weird situations, but I mean, whatever. And then 2 of the Son Goku, Defender of Life, just because it's a good, again, generic red card. I've actually yet to play this card, I just threw it in the deck. When this card is played, you place a Saiyan underneath it to give it self-barrier. It has Deflect and Double Strike naturally, which is the reason why I run the Rat Super combo, just because so I have a potential target to put under this card, because obviously it's a Shadow Dragon deck, so there's no Saiyans, period, anywhere else, so just for that. And then if you're a leader, the second effect doesn't even matter because you have to be a pan. But for me personally, it's just a 20k double strike that can deal damage if you play it. So again, I haven't played it really at all, really any cards except for my Z Awaken leader yet, but it's there. There's no sense in not having it. So.
Alrighty, so with that being said, that was your deck and Z deck. Do you want to go over your matchups today?
So my first matchup was Green King Piccolo. That was pretty rough just because that deck is very similar to the old school King Piccolo in the aspect of it free plays a lot of cards and it puts out a lot of aggro, and it's green, so it deals with your board pretty well, so he was doing a pretty good job of keeping my board clear. I feel like I got kind of lucky because he never saw any of his charismatic villains, so I was able to keep my all my little cards on board, because unfortunately pretty much all of my little battle cards, with the exception of my 8-drop, are susceptible to charismatic villain, including this card too, unfortunately, since he doesn't gain the barrier until after his activate main's been activated. So that matchup was pretty tricky. I ended up getting it mainly because I just kept the aggro up and he couldn't charismatic me. So only reason why that happened. Second match was the Trunks reboot leader. That pretty much came down to him attempting to go for his big play, and he just couldn't do it. He wasn't hitting the cards he was supposed to ramp his life up, and I just kept a fat hand, so even once he was able to get an 8-drop out, he wasn't able to really harm me. I was able to keep my defenses up, so that ended up going well. My final matchup was against Yellow Bardock Crew, the new one. That one was actually recorded, so you get to see that. Closest game I had all night. That game came down to the knit and grit. He ended up taking it just because he was able to pull out some last minute shenanigans, secret rare, whole 9 yards, and at the end of the day, I was outplayed. There was nothing I could do about it. It was knit and grit though. I mean, it came down to if he didn't beat me that turn, I would have got him next turn, and that's all it was. So, I mean, tough games tonight overall.
Alrighty, so with that being said, do you have any final shoutouts or any final things to say about your deck?
So, shout out to Yuhp Games as usual. Love coming out here every Sunday. Sen is very crazy. If you like decks that just... I feel like this deck is very, very underrated. I know a lot of people were looking at Gogeta like, oh, it's going to be the best red deck in the format. I've got some disagreements. I think this deck can do a little bit more, personal opinion. But highly recommend. It's very fun, especially if you enjoy the Wish mechanic. It feels a lot like a Wish deck on your League game, so that's pretty cool. And yeah.
Alrighty. So with that being said, guys, that was his deck profile. If you guys enjoyed this deck or my content in general, remember to hit all those buttons for me, like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.